Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello, lovelies. I see Vanessa and Jeanette already. Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. I am excited about today's topic. Really excited about today's topic because one, it's Thirsty Thursday, and I'm thirsty for this kind of information. And I'm going to share with you why in just a minute. And two, you need to hear this. You need to hear this because I will tell you 100%, every single one of us are experiencing what I have in my notes today. I'm telling you, it's the truth. There's my girl, Jackie Paige. How you doing? I'm glad to see you. Deborah, Alice, Doris, Jocelyn. The ladies are in the house. You know what that means? We're going to have a party here. One thing that things have slowed down a little bit around here. We were popping these journals out the door like nobody's business. Nobody's getting them now. I'm going to tell you what. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a look at your year right now. I want you to think about your year. How's it gone? Has it gone the way you want it to go? Or are you thinking, well, I just didn't quite make this, or I didn't quite make that, or whatever it is. If that is the case, I want you to deeply consider getting the Take Back Your Life journal. With it, you get a teaching that'll tell you exactly how to use this, and it will get you some good habits to get going. I read something very interesting about rituals yesterday. Eric Barker, I think, is the author of it. And he was talking about how rituals are a continuum and a plumb line for every single person on the planet, every community on the planet, whether it is a small tribal situation way off in, who've never seen a cell phone, to people who are very, very civilized. Rituals are important to us. And he made a very interesting observation about rituals. And that is that rituals give people purpose, they give them drive, and it gives a sense of accomplishment. He said sometimes there are rituals that don't even accomplish anything. It's just a stake in the ground. And we need that as human beings. Those stakes in the ground for us are goals. They are proven to move the needle in your life. They are proven to help you to become the person you are meant to be. We're not just taking up space. We're not just biological accidents. We're here on purpose and for purpose. And so I'm asking you to really deeply consider to start getting the rest of your year handled in a way that helps you to end it proudly, right? Not just with regrets, not just with a bunch of New Year's resolutions, not just the same old stuff on repeat, but really positively. savingdinner.com/journal. That's where you can find it. And every single person that I send this to, I personalize it to. I'm talking about this so much because you should see my inbox sometimes. You should see my, the DMs that I get on social media from folks who are just lost. You cannot find your way without a GPS. That's what this does. And you can ask, there you go. You can ask Nancy about it. You ask a whole bunch of people about it. This is the thing that's going to move the needle in your life. And I just really want to see everyone get what they want, the results that they want. And at the end of the day, it's all about vibrancy. Am I right? I know I'm right. Of course I'm right. So go get that. I'm glad you're here, Nancy. And I would say cheers to you, except upstairs, I've got my hot melt mix and my water sitting there. So I hope Mark doesn't drink it because I'm going to. I'm thirsty. I need that. It's Thirsty Thursday. So if you want hot melt mix, by the way, too, you can go get that. There's a link right here in the comments. Boy, do we love that stuff. It's so good. Doris says she loves the new journal. Yes, The new journal is a needle mover, and it helps you. You don't have to use every single bit of it. You can use every single bit of it. It's up to you. You get to customize it. So there you are. Well, Nancy, I smile every time I think of you. Every time I see my little bronze medal that I won from playing pickleball, I smile because of Nancy's little trick on me. I shared that story with you before. She, here when we had Full Bloom, she put it on. She was asking me something. She had it on her, wearing it. And it was later on in the conversation that I realized she was wearing it. We had a good laugh over it. It was pretty fun. So anyway, Corliss is in the house, y'all. We can get started. All right. We today are going to be talking about this thing called stress. Stress. You, my friend, are under the influence of stress. I am too under the influence of stress. And while we like to think that we're not, that's simply untrue. And I'm going to take you all the way through on why we are. Okay. Have you ever met somebody who said, "Oh, I'm not stressed at all," and they're wound up as tightly as a tick? You feel like you're walking on eggshells around them. That person just has not acknowledged the stress. If you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Am I right? Yeah, Jackie, you do need this. I think you need this. I need this. We all need this. And sometimes that stress comes from ourselves. We just put a thumb on our own heads. And sometimes it comes from outside influences, and there's so many things that have influenced all of that. And what I'm going to be talking in here is I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty of a whole lot of reasons on why a lot of people ended up coming here anyway. And it was to get the hot melt sprint. It was to do something about these out of control cravings. It was to do something about a life that I call the carousel of crazy. And the carousel of crazy is when your mind is all you're thinking about is your weight, what you're going to eat. Is it going to be, am I going to be good or bad? What the doctor's going to say. I mean, obsessed with all this weight business, And I think we spent so much brain power on this that there's a connection here to the stress. And I'm going to be talking about that in our cravings workshop. How many people are coming to that? I've seen a lot of people coming to this. I really want you to consider it. It is a paid workshop. You are going to get, first of all, you're going to get the transcript, you're going to get the recording, and you're going to get a handout that has everything that you're going to need. I believe with all of my heart that this is worth every single minute of your time, because the cravings workshop is going to show you what this is all about, because it's not just one thing. It's never just one thing, is it? You will find out if you go to savingdinner.com/cravings workshop, cravings workshop, all one word. All right. Just letting you know, you can pull up a tab and go get your registration in. And it's going to be good. We've got some juicy tidbits. Boy, oh boy, my research it's making my eyes pop out of my head. It's also making me understand my own cravings a little bit better. So let's bring on our TikTok friends, because Facebook and YouTube, you are live. It's so good to see you. Tanya, nice to have you here. And I think I saw another lady that was here. Who else did I see? Well, I see my Jackie, so that's a good thing. All righty. Hello there, TikTok. Welcome aboard. We're going to be talking about stress today. Stress is something, you know what? Let me ask you something. How often do we just want to dismiss? Oh, I don't want to talk about stress. I want to talk about or weight loss. I want to talk about, actionable things, because to us, stress is just stress, right? It just happens. Well, I'm going to take you to the place of understanding how incredibly important it is to understand what stress is, what it does to your body, how we react to it physiologically, psychologically, the whole 9 yards. This is important stuff. Everyone on the planet needs to hear this, because as much as we don't like to discuss it, as much as we want to dismiss it, nobody Googles stress. No, we're Googling all the other things. But I'm going to show you that the heart of the matter is stress. So let's talk about it. And we are under the influence. I'm telling you, whether you say you are or you're not, there's two things. You're either ignorant or you're lying. And I'm going to say probably you're ignorant, because I am. I'm thinking I have a stress-free life. I have this great thing going on. I'm happily married. I live in a great place. I have a nice business. I've got a great dream team that I work with. All the things. I have everything a woman could want. I've got stress. You've got stress because we live in this world. It's just part of the equation. Okay? Here's what the dictionary says about stress, and this is really interesting. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or a demand. Any kind of challenge, any kind of demand. You can have it physically, you can have it emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. You can be challenged. So this is a helpful thing to have when you're trying to avoid lions and tigers and bears. Am I right? Nobody wants to bump into one of these. And I've changed the way that I do the lake. You know, I walk around a lake, and if you've watched some of my TikTok videos, you've seen my lake walks. You've seen the big turtle. Have you seen the big wise old turtle that I see? I go to look for him every single day. But I used to, once upon a time, walk around the whole lake. Now I do this great big huge U. I don't walk around the whole lake anymore because I saw a big old bobcat. And I'm sure he's not going to want to eat me, but my dog probably looks pretty tasty and about the same size. So, you don't know if you're going to see a bobcat. Is the bobcat going to be hungry? If he's hungry enough, he's going to go after something that looks like dinner. Most of the time, you're going to scare him away. Fortunately, I scared him away, but I don't want to walk and see him anymore. That stressed me out. I came home going, bobcat. So here's the thing. Adrenaline is a helpful emotion for getting away from bobcats. It's also helpful for if you had to lift a car off of someone, or it makes it possible. There are absolutely places there's times that this has happened where people have been able to, like a 120-pound woman, been able to pull a car up off a toddler. It's happened. And the superhuman strength comes from this hormone called adrenaline. Mark, you have a bobcat pet. Certainly. Why not? Have a bobcat for a pet. Whatever. So we have 3 stress hormones. Okay. The one that I'm talking about right now is adrenaline. You know that. That is the fight or flight. That is immediate. That kicks in and it kicks off the car, right? The second one, though, is cortisol. Now, this is your amygdala's favorite. Your amygdala is the part of your brain that is always saying, no, don't do that. This is risky. I don't want to. It's scary. I don't want to. Keep everything the same. Even if it is the same old, and it doesn't put you in a good place, it puts you in a bad place. So the good part about having cortisol is that it helps to keep your blood pressure steady. The bad part is that it doesn't support your immune system. It puts your immune system, stresses your immune system out. It also can, with too much cortisol, be bad for your blood pressure, and it also leads to obesity. Take a look at that. It's true. So norepinephrine is the third one, and norepinephrine is kind of a backup system, if you will, to burnt out adrenals. And it is more responsive than these other 2 because it helps you to get things taken care of. But we have to take a look at how these stress hormones are affecting us. And one of the places is, remember I told you this is all connected to cravings? It really is stress eating. Have you ever heard of that? Oh, I mean, listen, queen of stress eating. I just shared a video yesterday right here on TikTok about my stress eating in my car. I had a brown Volvo station wagon. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And every time I went to the grocery store, when I went by myself, I would get handfuls of M&Ms. I would buy the biggest bag I could find of M&Ms, peanut M&Ms in the store, and I would just simply smash them into my mouth, eating them as fast and as furiously as I could. It got to the point where I couldn't even taste them anymore, and those little candy shards were just cutting up the roof of my mouth to the point of bleeding. And I'd still keep eating them. I couldn't stop. And then you know what? You know how this whole cycle goes. And then afterwards, I would have remorse. I would feel awful about myself. And I'd say, okay, that never again. I'm never going to do that again. But I would make sure my point was make sure that they're gone first so I could start fresh and I wouldn't have them. Never thinking for a minute, oh, you can just throw them away. No, that wasn't part of it, because the stress eating of those M&Ms led to uncontrollable cravings. And those uncontrollable cravings put me on the carousel of crazy, so that all I could see was the food of choice, which was my drug of choice, let's be honest. And also just how I was going to get it the next time, what I was going to do about it, how I felt the whole time, the remorse, the guilt, the shame, the everything. It was a carousel of emotional crap that I was piling and piling on myself. It was awful. And it was all due to the stress that I had going on in my life. Couldn't deal with that. But I could deal with the cravings. You know why? Because I could respond to the cravings. You know how I could respond to the cravings? With more of the same drug of choice. It was the only thing that would do it for me. And I looked forward to those trips to the grocery store. I just have to run out for one thing. I'll be right back. And I'd go to the store and I'd buy that huge bag, not a small bag, a huge bag. And I'd eat the whole thing on the way home, 15-minute drive home, because we lived out in the sticks. This also leads to drug abuse. It leads to smoking and gambling and drinking excessively, shopping, anxiety attacks, y'all, anxiety attacks, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, heart disease, immune system malfunctions, sleep disorders. They're all influenced by stress. They all lead to out of control cravings to get whatever it is to put you back in that place of neutralizing things. Neutralizing. So this turns us into stress junkies. And the way that we deal with this is to find something, anything, to help take care of that stress. And we turn to a substance oftentimes, or a behavior, or whatever it is. And those of you who know, when you are out of control and you're standing in front of, I had a coaching client who said it was 2:00 in the morning. She was standing in front of the refrigerator, crying her eyes out and eating a cold pork chop from the night before. She said, what was that about? And it was about the stress in her life that she just couldn't control. It was about things this was some way that she could control. She could control what she was eating, right? Now, some people will take that and they'll say, I can control what I'm eating, and they're going to take it to the side of good. And there's other people who will be like me, and they'll be looking for ways to get out of the house so that they can take care of that stress with the food, right? So all of this is you see the cycle, don't you? The negativity and the whole thing, and how it just preoccupies your whole life. Stress is a part of life. This is something that we need to look at. That's number one. Stress is a part of life. Routines, work, school, family, and responsibility. There's a little bit of stress in all of that. And it's not necessarily bad. And sometimes some of that is out of our control. Now, if you're a caregiver of an elderly parent, then you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I'm sure you do. You know what that's about. But also stress can be a little bit of a motivator. A deadline, for example. Deadlines are good. Deadlines keep us moving and I got to get this done. That little bit of stress helps us to move the needle in our lives. We take the test, we do our best, and there's stress. I played in, I think a couple of weeks ago, I told you about this, in a pickleball tournament, and stress was absolutely killing Mark and I. Mark and I were playing mixed doubles. And for a while, he was just missing every shot. And finally, I just said, timeout. We got to climb one timeout. I pushed him against the fence and I looked at him and I said, you've got this. Every single shot that you did, I know you've got this. Just allow it to be a fun game and let go of the stress. Because when we can let go of the stress, we can allow for the next thing. We can't allow for the next thing when we're so consumed. You understand that? We can't. So number two is we have to remember too, the other thing that stress does, it affects our decision making. That is a huge deal because bad decisions are made when we're under pressure. They are. Sometimes we'll go safe rather than go sound. Have you noticed that as well? And there's a lot of emotion that's all tied up with that one. It happens. So I like to say we need to unplug from the emotion and give it the analytical 30-foot view. What's going on here? Help yourself to calm down and take the moment so that you can process. We're not machines. We cannot do it the way a computer would do it, for example. We can't process all the information. And taking the time out allows all of those stress hormones to be processed and puts you back in control of it. Because if the amygdala has its way, it's going to say, no, 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 sit down, sit down, sit down. Don't do anything, it's scary. Whereas the prefrontal cortex, this is your money maker, this is where all the good decisions are made, is going to say, you know what, let's take a minute, let's process it, and let's see how this goes. Have you noticed that when you take the time to think through things, that you make a better decision? That's allowing the stress to go through and to be done. To be done. We need to take that time out, Jackie. You're right. We all need to take the time out. I think oftentimes we get stuck thinking we've got to reply immediately. No, we don't. What we need to do is we need to recognize the way that our brains function and honor that. That's how we can deal with the stress. Bad decisions are born out of stress, and the body is greatly influenced by stress. I believe that I blew my thyroid out, when I was in my 40s because of the stress that was in my life. I didn't have an outlet. So the negative is that exercise will temporarily ratchet up your cortisol. But the good part about this is that doing so creates the ability for your body to get fitter and fitter and to be able to endure more and more stress. So that's a good thing. But one thing I will say, here's a helpful hint for you. If you exercise at night, make sure it's like before dinner, not after dinner. It raises cortisol levels up. And when you go to bed, you want your cortisol levels down so you can go to sleep. Otherwise, you'll have kind of a sleepless night. You won't get good quality sleep. Remember, we're always looking for restorative sleep. That happens between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So remember what we talked about being a night owl? It's not good. We want to have that restorative sleep. This is where things get corrected and fixed. So the positive is that as your body, as your fitness improves, your body improves, your body's ability to handle all kinds of stress, not just the stress that you've done physically, but the stress that you have mentally and in relationships and all the rest of it. It all comes together. It all works together. The number one thing that you can do to avoid Alzheimer's in your life, the number one thing, every single person on the planet can do it. Exercise. It's the number one thing. They've shown that active seniors don't get Alzheimer's like sedentary seniors do. So you can go research that if you'd like. It's interesting. So how do we handle stress? Well, I'm going to give you 7 things, very actionable steps that you can do in order to make the stress a little bit less. Number 1 is your food. Your food, what's on the end of your fork, is going to influence how your body reacts. Remember, food is information. And your body is a chemistry lab, isn't it? It is. It takes that information and it says, ooh, good stuff, or ooh, bad stuff. And it reacts accordingly. And the bad stuff, guess what that does? That stresses out your body. And that stress hormone going into your body with inflammatory food, double whammy. Make sure you're well hydrated. Make sure you're moving and make sure you're getting to bed at a decent hour so you are getting that restorative sleep. Number 2 is your self-care is not optional. Listen, I'm speaking especially to women. How often do we sacrifice ourselves in order for the good of the family, in order for so-and-so, in order for, dad or the children or the grandchildren or the church or the family or the community or the something? We do that, and that sends a message to the brain that puts you dead last. How do you think dead last works? In the scheme of things, does it work? It does not. Women are notorious for doing this. I don't know, is it in our DNA? Maybe. I'm just saying, take a look at that. Number 3 is meditate, breathe, even light a candle. Do you know there's some research on that one? Isn't that funny? that lighting the candle is a calming thing. It is a ritual that we can do for ourselves. I'm starting to consider using the lighting of a candle for part of my meditative practice. These rituals are little stakes in the ground that we put that say, I matter. I matter. And when you start mattering to yourself, people will start seeing this and they will start mattering to you. It's incredible how that works. Number 4 is watch the caffeine. A little bit of caffeine is good, believe it or not. They've proven that in all the brain studies lately. And they've shown like a couple of 3 cups of coffee even a day is really good stuff. So yay, go for that. But if you're sitting there sucking down a whole pot of coffee, that's going to put your body on the burnout. And that raises stress hormones. We don't want to do that. Exercise hard, and don't forget to also consider the other parts of balance in your exercise. You need to stretch, you need strength training, you need relaxation, all of these things, and balance. You know, mobility is a deal. Let's talk about mobility for a minute. I had somebody approach me one time about, let's talk about mobility. And I think your audience would really appreciate anything about mobility. And I was like, what do you think? I'm an old lady or something? I got very defensive about it. But as I get older, I see the inability and the loss of mobility in people that are my age and even a little bit older and even a little younger. And that mobility is everything. We have to look at this. And that's part of the whole exercise equation. Do balancing things. Do things that strengthen and lengthen those muscles. You know, it's not just one thing, it's all the things. And we can do a little bit every day. A little bit every day, that consistency every day is what is going to make a difference. And I will tell you, one very underrated thing that you can do is walk. Walk and walk and walk. Get outside in nature and enjoy what's out there. You know, there is beauty all around you, and you fill your heart with gratitude. I'm telling you, those stress hormones just go right out the window. Boom, like that. Number 6 is to laugh and yawn. Those 2 things really help your whole body to feel the endorphins, and it helps your parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps you to start just calming down. That's what helps. Mindfulness helps, and practicing gratitude, like I said, all of that is a calming system for the body. And the last thing is, and I'm going to say this because I hear this all the time as a coach, take your bloody supplements. You buy them. Your pantry's not a storage unit for them. Put them out every single day and take them every day and watch how much better you feel. You know, those supplements are there for a reason. We have great supplements made right here in the United States under my direction. And they are for women, made by women, for women. And I will tell you, if you're not taking your supplements, you're not practicing self-care. Supplements aren't meant to be stored in a tomb like your King Tut. We need to get down on that stuff. You know, we need to get down on that. Let's get on it. Let's get on this and start taking care of ourselves. You are worth the time. Am I right? Alrighty. Yes and yes, says Vanessa. Yes and yes. So I have one thing left to say to you, and that is peace be with you. And when I say that, you know, my priest used to say that. I was a part of the Episcopal Church. Peace be with you is a blessing that we can offer one another. And our response when the priest said that was, and also with you. So I hope that as I give you that blessing, that you give it back to me. And let's allow the stress to leave us and to go forth in peace to bring love and light to this very shaken, sad world. Because it's pretty bad out there sometimes. Let's look at what's around us and who's around us. We are blessed people. Love you so much. Thank you so much for joining me right there on TikTok, right there on YouTube and Facebook. You're the best. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.